I had a session today with a client that I wanted to share with you because it might be something you can relate to. We were doing a sapiosomatic process, and she dropped into a memory of a feeling of hopelessness in childhood. It wasn't her feeling, it wasn't an experience she'd had, it wasn't from her family, but it was a general feeling of hopelessness in the environment she grew up in. It was a community that was focused on poverty and on lack and on hardships in the world that they could not do anything about. And so it felt unsafe to her. And she learned that the way to be safe, which is by creating community and letting the community help keep you safe, was by now communing in the suffering and in the hardship and in the hopelessness that they all felt. And so she took that hopelessness on within her as an identity, and it even claimed that it was almost her own, or as an identity of who she is. She learned to see the world as through the lens of hopelessness, that this is an unjust, unsafe world that she can do nothing about. And she was still running that program today. Except in the past, what had once created community and safety for her was now responsible for the paralyzing fear she was feeling and the isolation that kept her separate from the world and kind of locked inside and unable to go out and feel safe in the world. So we dialogued with the parts that were feeling the fear and those that remembered what it was like to be without the fear. And then we hit a standstill, and I encouraged her to drop into the self behind all of this, behind the lens, the one that's seeing through the lens, that awareness that sees through the lens and that isn't identified as this hopelessness or this unsafe world, but is actually the one that's seeing through the lens that's seeing the world that way, awareness itself. So we dropped in deep, and she spent some time there. We did some processing there so that she could see that she was actually anchored in the self awareness that was seeing through that lens. And then she had choices because she could change the lens. And maybe she could change the lens to one of infinite possibilities. So maybe this is something you can relate to. And so if so, step into awareness, the one behind the lens, the one behind the hopelessness, the one that witnesses it, awareness itself, the one who witnesses that hopelessness but is not identified with it. Realize that that innate self has always been okay, is pure love itself, and that you can choose the lens you see the world through from that perspective. Because no matter what happened, that self was able to navigate this world, can find a way no matter what, and still can. It's just up to you to choose the lens you're going to see the world through, because that helps you with your navigation tools. So what if you can anchor in awareness and change the lens, change the program, update the software, change the lens from one of hopelessness to one of something else, like maybe infinite possibilities. Anchor in awareness itself and maybe try on a new lens, because the lens you were wearing, this one of hopelessness, it was never even yours to begin with. I give tips like this every day, so please like and follow. I help people who've had spiritual experiences integrate them into their daily life and live their life from the perspective of the self, or from awareness. So if it sounds like something I can help you with, let me know in the comments below. Namaste, my friends. Keep being the awareness.